Hey, you guys, Amanda here. I had a great event in Marksville. There was no drama, nobody chasing me, anything. It's amazing. But anyway, my opponent was there, Brandon, and he's actually the only other one running that is for the paper ballots and realizes that we have election issues or acknowledges them. Okay. There was He used the talking point of us outsourcing everything, which I've pointed that out before. Me and a coworker went and volunteered for a Republican event, and we ended up running the entire event because they had outsourced it to another state, and those people like canceled at the last minute. So me and my coworker literally had to run the Republican committee meeting down south. All right. Two girls from Bastrop, Louisiana. Did that. Anyway, also, the paper ballots, if we have those, we do need them done in Louisiana. We don't need to be outsourcing all of our money. We need to keep our money here in our state, okay? So that was a good point, and I'm not opposed to anybody using things that I've previously pointed out because it needs to be said, and let's be honest, he's funded. I'm not. His voice is going to carry more weight, period. He did say one thing that really concerned me, though. I am all for the registry being updated. I want the dead people removed, and I want the people that are not Louisiana citizens or American citizens removed. Now, the driver's license, the IDs, those are going to have to be altered, or they're going to have to start adding whether or not you're an American citizen on those, because we do have illegals that are not American citizens that are registering to vote here in Louisiana. Okay, that is happening. That was confirmed during our last election. Voter fraud was confirmed. I mean, we did have that. We had 108% voter turnout in some parishes. It's not possible. Okay. But he said something about 1 in 5 people by law should be removed from the voters registry. All right. So that means somebody that isn't dead per se, and somebody that isn't illegal or not a citizen. So I got to looking into it. 102, Louisiana State Legislator, the ineligible people, convicted of a felony while incarcerated are on probation or parole. All right. Louisiana is a mass incarceration state, you guys. The majority of the people with the felony convictions were convicted of marijuana, which we're trying to get the federal schedule changed so we can change the mass incarceration crap. All right. Basically 1 in 5 Louisiana citizens have felony convictions. But I have tried to help people that were released from jail get their voting rights back. All right. Now, these were legitimate people that were not on probation or parole, and they never got them back. They let it fall through because it was such a headache. They don't update that registry very often. So when you get put on there as ineligible to vote because of parole or the conviction or incarceration or whatever, it's an act of Congress to get off of it. So a lot of people that should have rights to vote are not voting because they can't get back on the registry. All right. I don't believe while you're on probation or parole that your rights should be violated like that. I believe you should have the right to vote. Especially, I mean, what if you were convicted by somebody that was corrupt and you just took a plea deal just to get out of the system? You're going to want to vote that person out of office, right? I know I would. Anyway, it should not. If you're incarcerated, you're not going to vote anyway. You're not going to be able to go to the voting booth. Probation and parole, if you've already done your time and you're out here free enough and just on probation or parole, I don't believe your rights should be violated. Okay? I believe you should have the right to vote. So, I believe if I'm elected as Secretary of State, everybody's going to have the right to vote because that's going to be taken off. There's no reason to restrict somebody that's under an order of imprisonment because they're already in jail. If they're on probation or parole, they should have their rights back. It's an unnecessary restriction that takes an act of Congress to correct. The other person that would be ineligible, it's only two, mental incompetence. I'd really love to call Britney Spears and ask her if her voting rights were taken whenever they were drugging her and had declared her incompetent so they could steal from her. There's a lot of people that has happened to. It doesn't take much for a family member to rob a doctor or someone else to have you declared incompetent. They were trying to do that to me. There's nothing incompetent about me, I can assure you. Anyway, those are just two things that really stood out to me. We do need paper ballots. Any machine can be programmed, you guys. And this election on October 14th, honestly, Brandon nor I stand a chance because we are both for paper ballots and authentic voting. The machines are still programmable. Now, we can hope and pray that they're not going to tamper with the voting machines this time because of the fact that everybody's on high alert and there has been repercussions for people that have restricted our votes and tampered with our votes in the upper ranks. But there's no assurance of that. And there are already people planted to ensure that what they want to be done in the upper elite happens in our state. I'm not going to say Edwards shouldn't have been governor, but I will say I don't believe the vote was accurate. Matter of fact, I'm 100% sure it wasn't. I wasn't able to contest the election. I was actually going to try, which is the point where I found that our votes were not audited. We didn't really have any right to object to an election, even though the numbers clearly showed that something wasn't right. You do not have 108% voter turnout in a parish, period. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't vote anymore. It's sad to say, but, I mean, when you have them being restricted because of a conviction or imprisonment or probation and parole, and they've been let out, or, you know, they're all probation or parole, but they can't get through the red tape to get it corrected, they give up. And that's their voice. I believe all votes matter. As long as you're alive, you should be able to vote. Alive and an American Louisiana citizen, okay? Let me clarify that, because that will be held against me. But anyway, I just wanted to let you know what had gone on, and it went really well. Those people stood out in the heat to hear speakers in their community. And there were lots of local candidates, very few state. Brandon and I were the only Secretary of State people. And honestly, Brandon's the only other opponent that I've seen on the campaign trail, which most of my campaign trail is out in the streets with the real people. Like, I'm at gas stations, I'm at libraries, I'm at, you know, things like that, events with my kids. And I go to some events just to make an appearance and let them know, but, you know, everybody tells me I'm not crooked enough to be a politician, but they love it when I'm a Southern belle giving them hell. and going after these corrupt politicians. And you'll see a lot more of that after the vote, when I can actually run my mouth like I want to. Your freedom is restricted when you're running for office. Now, I am faithfully bipartisan, because during my campaigns that I have helped people with, which I've been helping people with campaigns since the year 2000, so that's 23 years of doing campaigns. I have done Democrat and Republican campaigns, and I've had a lot of them win, and they were good people. I go on the person, I don't go on the party, and that is one reason I'm running as conservative this year, because when I ran as Republican, the upper elite didn't like me, which there were some Republican snakes, you know what I mean? And I felt like conservative was best for me. But I'm completely bipartisan. I'm for some Democrats, believe it or not. There's a few that haven't turned with the party. The party is what turned, not some of the people. So I look at the individual. And honestly, the people's votes are what matters, not my opinion. I don't have the right to restrict somebody from running for office at all. And honestly, we need to do something about this law, because somebody that's honestly mentally incompetent, they're not going to run for office. They're not going to be able to do it. If I was mentally incompetent, I wouldn't be able to run for office and get through it with no fines and, hold myself together and travel and drive myself to all these events. And you know what I mean? It's like not feasible. And if I was in jail for a felony, I couldn't go vote. So make it make sense, you guys. Anyway, this is Amanda Jennings. I'm number 25 on your ballot for Louisiana Secretary of State. I hope you vote for me. Y'all have a blessed night. It's the Louisiana Saturday night. Do not drink and drive.